¿qué tal? This is Animagick. This will be the first time that I will be uploading a tutorial in English, so please bear with me. I know that I will make a lot of mistakes while talking, but if I postpone this until I am really comfortable with the way I speak in English, then I am sure that this will take quite a little bit of time for me to be able to upload something. So I prefer to upload this as it is, and hopefully with more practice I will become more comfortable trying to convey my ideas as I used to explain things in Spanish before in my channel. So that's all that I wanted to say for now. Let's start with the tutorial. To begin with, let's create a new composition. Press down Ctrl N to open up the composition settings dialog box, and then we can name it maybe main text. The resolution will be 1920 by 1080, and I will set the duration to 6 seconds, but this depends on you and the duration that you want for your finished animation. Let's go on and press down OK. Now you have to type in the text that you want to animate and center it in the composition. For this type of animation, we need the characters to be separated. So this text layer with all the characters inside the same layer won't work for us. The quick way to separate characters for this type of animation would be to use a script. A script such as Bunkai or maybe Text Exploder. In my case, I will use Text Exploder. After installing the script, go to Window menu, and the script and any script that you install inside of After Effects will appear in the lower half of the window menu here. Press down Text Exploder to open up the panel. And now if I select my text layer and decide to split this into characters, as well as deleting the original file layer, then I can press on the apply button. And now we have each of the characters in its own layer. After that, you can select all of the characters and press down Ctrl Alt Home, which is the shortcut to center the anchor point of each of the layers. If you want to change that shortcut, or if it doesn't work for you, you can go to the Edit menu and then go to Keyboard Shortcuts and type in Center Anchor Point, and this is the command that you would need to change to another set of keys depending on your liking. Now, in my case, I already have the characters separated, each of them on its own layer, but I want to change the layout of this so they are not centered exactly in the composition. Maybe I can select the last half of the text and then move it like this and rotate some of these characters. To do that, you can press down the W key on your keyboard, and then if you hold down and press the left click, you can change the rotation of each one of these characters without having to go to the rotation property and changing the degree part of the property, right? So the W allows us to change the rotation of the characters from the composition panel. When you are finished deciding how the layout of the text will be, I mean how the characters are distributed in the space of the composition, then we can go to the next part of the tutorial. Now, for the next part of the animation, we have two main ways to do it. The first one involves creating a set of keyframes in the position and rotation properties of the layers, and then applying a loop out expression so that that set of animation repeats again and again until the end of the composition. I will show that first way, and then I will show the other way, which is more random and involves the wiggle expression. For the first way of doing this, we can select our first character. In my case, it's an E from the katakana, and then press down the letter P on your keyboard to show the position property. We will have to create a few keyframes here. For example, this is my original position, and then I can go pressing down page down a few times, 2 frames to the right, and change a little bit the position. You can do it from here or from selecting the layer from the composition panel and moving it around a little bit. Then go 2 frames to the right again and move it a little bit again, and then let's go 2 last frames to the right and copy and paste the first keyframe. So now you will have this type of animation, but we want the change between keyframes to be not gradual. I want the animation to go from these keyframes to these, to these, to this one without having to do this type of interpolation between the keyframes. So to do that, let's select all of the keyframes and then right click toggle hook keyframe. If I press spacebar to preview my animation, I can see that now the animation, it's not gradual, it's just jumping from this keyframe to the next until the last one. If I want to make the space bigger between keyframes, you can hold down the Alt key and press the last keyframe of the set and then click on it and go right or left. Now when I'm okay with my animation, what I need to do now is to copy and paste this until the end. But if you do that manually, it will involve pressing down Ctrl V a lot of times, and if you later on decide to change a little bit the position value from the letter, it will involve quite a lot of work and we don't want to do that. So to make our work easier, we can apply an expression to the position property. To do that, hold down the Alt key and press the stopwatch of the position property. This will make the expression editor come up. And now we can delete this and type in loop out and click outside the expression editor because we want to finish editing it. And if I press spacebar, as we can see, what is happening is that the loop out expression will read the keyframes from the first one to the last of the property, and then it will repeat them again and again until the end of the composition. It doesn't matter if your composition length is 5 seconds or 1 hour, it will work until the end of it. The next step would involve animating the position of each of the rest of the layers, creating a new set of keyframes, and then applying the loop out expression so that it loops out until the end. The second way to do this type of animation involves the wiggle expression. I will delete the keyframes that I have in my position property completely, and now hold down the Alt key and press the stopwatch of the position property, and you will type wiggle and 2 numbers. The first number is the frequency of the expression and the second one is the amplitude. So if you put a bigger number here, you will see that the wiggle expression will change the original values of the position at a higher rate. So the animation will look a little bit more erratic, but it depends on what you want to do in the end, right? So if I put a big number such as maybe 50 and then preview my animation, as you can see the letter is moving quite a lot at a faster rate. But if I put a smaller value here, such as maybe 5, as you can see the wiggle expression is still working. It's creating a variation of the original values of the position. As we can see, if I deactivate the expression by clicking down on this button, the original X value of the position was 260. But if I press down this button to activate the wiggle expression, now I have 261, 256, 260, 258, etc. Right? So it's still working, but the frequency is slower, so the resulting animation is lower as well. Now, if I want the letter to go further away from its original position, then we need to change the amplitude. For example, I will set the amplitude to 50, and if I preview my animation, as you can see, the wiggle expression is still working, but the new values of the position can be farther away from its original value. That is the work of the amplitude in the wiggle expression. Now, what you need to do is to define the values that you want to use, depending on how you want the animation to look in the end. I will define a subtle movement to my animation, and when I'm happy with how it looks, we need to copy and paste this in the rest of the layers. To do that, you have to select the position property and then go to the edit menu, copy expression only, select the rest of the layers and press down Ctrl V. Then preview your animation and you will have this. If you want to, you can also apply the wiggle expression to maybe the rotation. Again, press down Shift R to show the rotation and then Alt click on the stopwatch and then put the wiggle expression here. And then if you want to copy and paste this, just select the property, go to edit, copy expression only, and then select the rest of the layers and press down Ctrl V. Why do you need to do that instead of just copying and pasting Ctrl C and Ctrl V, because if you do that, look at what is going to happen. I will copy the position and then select the rest of the layers and paste it. But as you can see, it's copying the coordinates of the position, the X and Y value, and all of the letters now have the same position as the first letter of the phrase, and I don't want that. That's why we use the copy expression only. Now the last step to do this type of animation is to remove that gradual movement between the position and rotation values that the wiggle is generating. What I mean is that I want this to look similar to what happens when I create an animation with position or rotation or whatever effect that I'm animating at the time with the toggle keyframe activated. I will show you now in the last part of the tutorial. Now to finish your animation, you have to create a new adjustment layer by going to the layer menu, new adjustment layer, because we want all of these characters to be affected by the effect that I am going to use now. So search in the effects and presets panel the posterize time effect and then apply it to the adjustment layer. And now what this effect does is it will read the layer at a lower frame rate. So my composition currently has a 24 frame rate, which means that a second is composed of 24 frames. And if I lower this value, we will have this type of effect. I will put maybe 8 in the frame rate. And this is what I want, right? In my case, for this type of look, I want the animation to have this type of feeling. I am not sure what is the specific word in English, but in Spanish I say that I want this to look like entrecortado, which means that it's not gradual, it's not smooth, but not in a bad way, right? So with that, I am finished. If I want, maybe I can apply another effect, such as drop shadow, to have this look. You can do that with that effect. Search the drop shadow effect and apply it to each of the letters. But we can also do this other thing. I can pre-compose by selecting all of the layers with the adjustment layer, press down Ctrl-Shift-C, or right-click and select the pre-composed option, and then I will name it text. And I can apply now the drop shadow to all of the text layers and change maybe the color that it has and the distance, so it looks a little bit more, it's more noticeable. And now I have this, which is the finished look. Thank you for staying until the end of the video. Hopefully I will return by next month with another tutorial. Ciao, ciao!